So we're going to be moving. Everybody should have, move this up here. There we go. Everybody should have their 5 hands transferred to the final paper. You're going to be using the ultra fine Sharpie to get all those lines cleared up. If there are areas, remember you want all of your hands scattered around the page, and there's a copy of this for everybody, so that you using this, the composition correctly. If you have your hand is, if you didn't include enough arm, all you have to do with your Sharpie is continue those lines and make sure that you're anchoring the hand on the side of the page and it's not floating on the page. So the next step for this process, you guys look up at the whiteboard. I do have the example of the project in free-form lines, and I made a copy of it on the paper right here. So you're basically making a grid line, and you want to make sure, if it's free form, you want to make sure that your sections are even. So I actually did it step by step here from left to right. So free form, you can even add curve to it if you want. I'm just doing it simple. And then you want to go in a different direction. It could be diagonal. If you make it too large, you can just divide it. You want to try and make them even. You don't want anything that's like, you don't want your sections to be like that. Okay? So always remember, if it's free form, try and get it even. And so the example that I showed you, remember you can have as many patterns as you want. After you get the checkerboard drawn, then you're going to add your pattern that you make. So like I said, I have a library of different patterns that you can use, the same patterns you used in intro that you can use up at the front of the room. And I also showed at the front how they created, using a similar pattern, how they created this one on top so you can even practice, step by step. So after you get that grid done, then you're going to add whatever pattern you've designed in each square. And they want to be roughly as even as possible. And you can use your pencil if you want to start first, but I think you should, all of you are talented enough to go straight to the Sharpie. If you don't want something that looks free-form and you want it to be like, you know, crisp, even edges, you want to take the ruler. Line it up to your paper. Hold it in the middle. I've noticed a lot of people hold the ruler on the edge, and then when they go to draw, as they move down the line, the ruler starts to shift, and your line comes out uneven. You also want to be careful not to draw through the hand. We want to jump over that hand. So you're going to hold it in the middle. If you need to, stand up. And then you're going to start making the checkerboard grid, making sure that you do not draw through your hands. After you get the first one done, you just take your ruler, line it up on that edge, draw the next line. And you're going to do that, make sure you go through, you know, any negative space in the hand. So I can see right here with that fly, I missed a little section. I'm going to go all the way across that paper. Take your time and make sure that your lines don't go over. I have whiteout. Some people said they accidentally make a little line. I have a whiteout to make those corrections. You want to avoid that because sometimes the whiteout can make a little bit discoloration, but it's just like if you get a zit. You think everybody can see it, but it's not that noticeable. Okay? So you do the lines all the way to the edge of the paper. Then you're going to do it vertical, the same technique, and this is going to help give you an even, crisp grid. And so on. So then you're going to have your grid in here, and then you can start putting in your patterns, whatever pattern you wanted to put in. You can use as many markers and colors as you want. The whole idea is to fill in the background so it's dark. So using these all kinds of patterns here, I gave you lots of inspiration so that your hands stand out. So just like you see here on the front, the pattern is darker, and the hands will stay simple contour, outline, drawings, okay? Some people have said, can I please color in my fingernails or the objects? That's fine, I don't mind. But please keep your hands white. That's what we want, that contrast from the dark to light. And the other thing that I would like to point out is that you're allowed to go outside. I have examples from previous students there for you that you can look at. Because with your pattern, it doesn't just have to stay with the basic checkerboard. So, for example, what I mean by that, when I have my grid, I can actually combine, like these first two lines could make one box of a design. I could actually go diagonal with my pattern all the way across. So I can divide my shapes. I can also make a, so you guys see how I made another bar going this way? So I made a vertical pattern. So it doesn't have to necessarily, it's mathematical. That's why we use the grid first. Even if you wanted to make it curve, I could still make the lines curve. You guys get it? The grid is to help you make sure everything's even so it becomes a pattern. Okay? And don't stress out about, several people have said, I don't know what kind of pattern to do. That's why there's lots of books and there's lots of examples that you can borrow from. If you like a small part of one, you can also modify it and make it to where you feel like it's workable on your pattern, okay? And like I said, you can use as many colors as you want in the background. Black is included, all right? If you do an alternating checkerboard, that means the background is, I would say it's better to keep it black and then a pattern, so that way it fills in the space more and it's not so empty. It doesn't compete with the hands. Does anybody have any questions? All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Remember, we're going to be, I will